Welcome, Barrie Trower, to White TV.
Thank you.
It's a very big honor for us that you take your time and give us an interview. We are a big admirer of yours and your courage that you go out with the message that there are enormous dangers in VLAN and cell phone technology. And perhaps we could start with a short background that we understand your competence and how much knowledge you could collect, that you know what you know today.
Yes, I started in 1960. I studied microwave, all aspects of microwave warfare with the military.
In Great Britain?
In Great Britain, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. All aspects of microwave warfare. I learned about the dangers, how they can affect the human body, as well as, of course, radar and military uses.
Yeah.
That. And a small part of my work after, for 11 years, was because microwaves during the Cold War were used as they are today as stealth weapons. They are perfect weapons, yes, because people do not know they are being targeted. And any government can and has targeted individuals, groups of people, streets, whole streets of people. You can target people with low level over 18 months, 2.5 years, and you can cause serious neurological damage, serious physical damage, and of course cancers.
And change the mind.
Easily change the mind. At that time, whilst I was questioning sort of captured spies or agents, which I emphasize was a small part of my work, I learned of the dangerous frequencies being used in other countries, because all countries were experimenting as they are today. I had a list of about 30 frequencies that could cause about 50 serious neurological and physical disorders, including cancer.
Cancer, yes. They can induce cancer.
Yeah. For instance, 6.6 pulses or modulations a second can induce sexual aggression, yes, in men. Other pulses can make you feel suicidal. Other pulses can make you indecisive, lethargic. You can have pulses that will affect your vision because it interferes with the natural frequency of the eye. You can affect the heart quite easily. You can affect the glands.
Make a heart attack.
Oh yeah, yep. You can also affect the glands in the body and change the hormone levels that will then change the behavior. So I did this for 11 years. I mean, I knew then about 30 pulse frequencies. Now they have a list of about 600. And they can be delivered to anybody, anywhere, by any government, even people who don't like you now. Day or night, when you're sleeping, walking around, the technology is there. And it is a perfect weapon because most of the time you don't know you're being attacked. And a tremendous success for a government is if they pick on a lady or gentleman unsuspecting and they can pulse that lady or gentleman's brain, cause a known psychiatric disorder, paranoid schizophrenia. They go to a psychiatrist, they are diagnosed, they are referred to a psychiatric hospital where they can still be targeted. and they can spend the rest of their life in a padded cell or in a psychiatric hospital, and that is a success.
Without being sick.
Without being sick. And if they just turned the frequency off, they would recover.
Yes.
That is a success. And we're not talking one person here, we're talking hundreds of thousands over 40, 50 years in many countries, hundreds of thousands. And the race is on to find the perfect microwave weapon where you can just, almost like a radio, tune the dial for aggression, suicide, whatever.
I heard about that there are already technical devices. You hang it around your neck, a little pult here, and then you can have some sparks and steer. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard of those, no.
We had in Stockholm in Sweden a horrible case some years ago where a man took the car into the pedestrians zone where no cars are allowed in the old town of Stockholm, and he killed a lot of people by just taking the car and going driving over them. And he said to his excuse, there was a man in the corner behind me who had this, and he steered me.
There are ways. I haven't heard of that method, but I have heard of other methods where people can be reprogrammed to do, for an experiment, to do what the government wants them to do. And in fact, it's incredibly easy. You can break the average person down for total reprogramming in just 30 hours. And that's without pain, without hypnosis, without drugs. The average person can be broken down in 30 hours. Usually, all they have to do is put you into a cell, no food, no water, no sound, and you're in total darkness. Absolute darkness. No sound, no water, nothing. And within 30 hours, you are hallucinating. Really hallucinating. Then, and this is so easy, I mean, I could do it. And then with, they call it synthetic telepathy. Microwaves can go right into the brain, and you hear a voice. Yes. And the psychiatrists beforehand, or the investigators, they would know a voice which you found comforting. Now, for a lady, it may be, if she loved her grandfather, it would be her grandfather's voice.
Oh, really?
If you are religious, it would be an angel, or Jesus, or Mohammed, or somebody. But when you've been in for 30 hours, and you're hallucinating, then the voice comes in. And of course, they can do this straight through the wall.
Yes.
The voice comes in, very soft, very soothing, very calming. Are you in trouble? I really am so sorry. Let me help. And over months or years, however long it takes, you will come just to rely on this voice. And if you don't do what this voice suggests, then the voice disappears and you're back in trouble. So you learn, a bit like heroin, you learn to depend on this very friendly voice. And if you talk to the voice and you're agreeable with the voice, you get food and you get light and then when you go home, the voice can wake you up in the middle of the night when you're sleeping and ask you questions, and then once you are absolutely, totally dependent on the voice, like heroin, it can say, now, the problem that you've been through was caused by, and it could be a religious sect, it could be a group of people.
Yeah, they always come with a false
a group of people, dark-skinned, fair-skinned, whatever, but it will be somebody. And they would say, now what I need you to do is help us defeat these people. And the next thing you've got is a bomber or a murderer, and it can be done.
For example, Mikhailo Mikhailovich, he was convicted of killing the Swedish Foreign Minister Anna Lindh in 2003.
Yep.
He said, I had so strong voices in my head, they gave the order to kill her.
Yep.
And that was for me a clear evidence that he was mind controlled, that he is innocent, he was just a tool.
Yep, but of course you can't prove it. And the government will say you're mad, lock him away.
Yes.
But it's a success. And if you wanted a single person, all you have to do with the person is say, well, the only person stopping you reaching a normal life is Mr. Smith. And as long as Mr. Smith is alive, you are going to suffer this. And it's very easy. It's very easy to reprogram a brain. Very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, religious sects do it sometimes to convince people. Look at the big mass suicide we had years ago. I forgot, in America. Waco. It's very easy to retrain a brain.
Yes.
Very easy.
Yes, for me, my research shows clearly that Waco was also a mind control operation. That is for sure. And even Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber, he was at those doctors making mind control and reprogramming.
But it's easily done, and of course the difficulty is finding out which people are having their minds changed by an agency deliberately, and those that really hate people and want to kill them anyway. But of course it is a perfect weapon for that, and it's been going on for a while.
Is it possible to use it on any human, or are there some groups which are more difficult to remote control?
No, I think there are groups of people that it won't work on.
I think so too, yes.
And I know this when I was, I use the word questioning, but when I was talking to spies and agents and international criminals and terrorists, it was over a cup of coffee, and I spoke to them as if they were ladies and gentlemen, like I'm talking to you. And if they wanted to talk, they did, and if they didn't, they didn't. But over the years, 11 years, there was only one that I never, ever managed to get anything from at all. There was one. And there are people who can resist.
Had you a clue how he managed to succeed?
No, but there was one, and he was just totally, would not give anything away, absolutely nothing. And we would sit over coffee and have conversations, ordinary conversations about anything, the weather, football, anything, you know, and he would give nothing away.
Was he from Eastern Europe?
No, he's from Ireland. He would give nothing away.
Interesting, because in Eastern Europe they had advanced technology to shelter against mind control. But interesting.
Yeah, but he would give nothing away.
That is a little comfort because they can't get anybody, but they can. The majority they can use and reach.
I'm trying to think of the percentage. I'm trying to think of the percentage of people who could be really, really programmed, and I can't actually. It's probably quite high, but there will be a group who cannot be programmed. There will be a group.
Do you know about the goal? Is there a goal to program anybody?
I know with one of the programs over a 40-year period, they took 500,000 people. I know that they had pregnant women, children over the age of 4, Muslims, Catholics, prisoners, drug addicts, cramps, servicemen, the whole cross-section. But one thing they didn't publish was the failure rate. They said we can cause this by this percentage, but that they didn't publish the failure rate. They probably took the failures from one experiment and tried them with another. So it's unknown. It's unknown if you had 100 people, how many could be controlled. Probably I would think maybe between 80 and 90 could be controlled. Maybe 1 in 10 couldn't.
And in Great Britain, one may suppose that it is MI5 controlling the technology.
Strictly speaking, we should say England.
England.
Because the Scotch, the Irish, the Welsh, I've never known any of those to do what the English government are doing. They seem to act on their own, and as far as I know, they have never, ever done it. It is the English government scientists, mainly from Porton Down, the big government military research centre.
Yes.
Now, to give you an example, we have scientists in England and the people who control them, and these are all unelected people. In 1960, and this went to court, in 1960, they took 20,000 young, fit servicemen and women, and they injected them. They said they were flu injections, and they injected them with toxins, poisons, chemicals. A lot of them died, a lot of them suffered an agonizing life with joint problems, cancers, and 50 years down the line, just a couple of years ago, 50 years down the line, the survivors, and there were only a handful, the survivors managed to get this to court. Not a single government scientist was named. They have total immunity and anonymity from the law. We have government scientists who are above and outside the law, and they have permission to kill people, government scientists. And I think this is wrong. They have permission to kill people, and they have. And they've been taken to court, but the government refused to have them in court. They settled out of court. The same was with the CIA. MK-Ultra is a good example. The CIA with the Canadian government.
Yes. The McGill University.
They were taken to court. Again, it took 50 years. Only a few people survived, and they refused to go into court and talk. They said it was government secrets, we're not going to tell you. And the survivors were paid a bit of compensation, and that's it. Not a single government scientist has ever appeared in the dock, and they have killed hundreds of thousands.
Yes. Do you know something about who is behind it in Sweden? Have you heard something about that?
No idea. But if they're linked to England or the CIA or Canada, and we have a scientist from Australia who was on one of the videos last night. I'm trying to think of his name. Adi, who was in the program. So, and this is the problem. We have scientists who are outside the law.
Yes, that's a problem.
And when you have scientists who can kill people and they cannot be prosecuted, then you have a problem.
You know who is giving the authorization to permit the killing?
Well, it's not the government, because the government are elected and they only stay for 4 years. It has to be somebody above the government, maybe the civil servants, maybe the civil servants in MI5, MI6, the Foreign Office, the military, but it has to be somebody who is unaccountable to the law.
Yes, what I heard in my research when I looked into the case of the murder of Lady Diana, they say it is Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen, who is in charge of MI5 and MI6.
Could well be. I mean, I heard when Lady Diana was dating Dodi Fayed, the young gentleman Dodi Fayed, and she was becoming, it looked, romantically involved.
Yes.
The one thing the British government, and I know this, would not tolerate was a member of the royal family marrying a Muslim.
And being pregnant with them.
And being pregnant with a Muslim.
Because the Queen is a state church chief, and that would be trouble.
So there was no way they were ever going to allow that.
Yes, that's I heard as well. From a British agent who is one of my clients, he told me over a beer, we're not supposed to allow.
Yeah.
And I heard also that the driver was mind controlled.
It is possible. It is perfectly possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely possible. No one will ever know the truth, but I suspect, but you're not the first person to say to me that Prince Philip was behind it.
Yes, yes.
You're not the first person to say that. Because when all is said and done, the royal family is a business.
Yeah, the institution of power.
It is a business, and the royal family, they have one aim, and that is to keep the royal family.
No, and to keep power. It's
and power,
yes.
Yep.
It's not so much money, but
no, not money,
power.
but they will stay the royal family.
Yes, yes, yes. I see that as well. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, that is very interesting. Do you know about technology giving shelter against those microwaves going into the brain or making cancer or heart attacks?
How do you mean giving?
That you are not open for that you perhaps have a device that you hang around the neck, giving a shelter against this.
Right, I don't know how they can work. For the simple reason that when microwaves, if I were microwaving you, I would be sending quite a wide beam to your head. And the microwaves, like all waves, travel in straight lines. They all travel in straight lines. Now, if the microwaves are going into your head from a beam, like if I was shining a torch into your face, if you're hanging something around your neck, that will not deflect a torch beam down to your chest. So the only thing I know that can deflect an electromagnetic wave at the speed it's going, which is the speed of light, unless you have your neutrinos, which theoretically can exceed the speed of light. The only way you can deflect them is to have something with an enormous gravitational field. The only thing known to me in the universe that powerful is a black hole in deep outer space.
But we can't hang it around our
You
neck.
can't hang a black hole around your neck, no. So how something here can stop a wave travelling at the speed of light going for your head, I don't know. I'm not saying the people that make them are lying. I've never tested one, And they may work. I can't see how they work, and if they do, I would love an explanation.
Yes.
I really would.
Yes. Well, we heard that the East German Stasi, the Secret Service of the DDR, they had credit card-like pieces they could put beneath the collar here, and that should have given a shelter. You have never heard about that?
The only way I think something like that could work is if they transmit outwards. If you have something and it is transmitting outwards, then you will have what in the war what is known as jamming, because you could jam radar. If you send a frequency back and it matches the frequency coming in, you have destructive interference. And destructive interference, the waves cancel each other out, and it ends up as heat. That is the only way I know to destroy a wave, is to jam it. So if they're given something that sends out a little frequency, that will jam it and that will work. But if it's something under the collar, I don't know how it would work.
Yeah. Have you heard about scalar waves and other form of waves compared to electromagnetic?
Now, with my classical physics degree, a scalar is a measurement on a ruler that doesn't move. It is not a vector that does move.
No direction.
But I do know that Tesla waves can now be described as scalar, which are your neutrinos. And I know when I did at university, the nuclear and atomic physics, I can remember to this day doing calculations with neutrinos.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can remember doing calculations with neutrinos, and I can remember it. I can remember the lecture because the calculations came out faster than the speed of light.
Yes, exactly.
And I asked the professor, and I said, "This is impossible. I must be wrong." And he said, I must forgive me. And she said, "No." She said, "They will come out faster than light. They are particles which, as far as we know, can exceed the speed of light." We debated this, and we left it open that maybe they existed, and maybe they could travel faster than the speed of light, or maybe there's something we don't understand, and maybe they do travel at the speed of light, but they're not electromagnetic waves, they're particles, and it may be possible to accelerate a particle. Because theoretically, if you now start to travel faster and faster and you reach the speed of light, what happens is your mass increases. And your mass will increase and slow you down. And if you go faster and faster, your mass increases more and more and more, but you can never reach the speed of light. They find this with the cyclotrons. That the particles, their mass increases. Now, maybe with your neutrinos, even with the mass increasing, they can still accelerate, or maybe the mass doesn't increase and they can accelerate. And nobody knows the answer to that in the world. But I do know that they are so fast and so small. And the professor said to me, travelling from outer space, they can go right through the planet, through the centre, out the other side, and not interact with a single atom. They won't touch anything. They won't touch the atoms in the ground. They won't touch the atoms in the lava, the magma, the iron core. They come out the other side. They won't touch a single atom in the oceans, and they whiz straight through. And I thought, you know, it's just almost unbelievable.
That's why those neutrino traps are so big, because they try desperately to catch them.
Yeah, and they probably can catch them.
Yes, but there must be a kind of technology. My research in mind control gave me a clue when the victims told me, the targeted individuals, the first thing we do when we feel they are microwaving us, we go into a Faraday cage.
Yeah.
And that is not a success, because they are still targeted. And how is that working? Because usually an electromagnetic wave is not passing through a Faraday cage. And then I got the hint that, oh no, they are using scalar waves based on neutrinos. And then, of course, neutrino can pass.
Yeah, because it has no charge.
Yeah.
So it can go straight through.
So in some way, not every technology, but some of the technology targeting people must be based on scalar waves.
Yep, and there may be, I mean, to my knowledge, there are 16 subatomic particles. They may be using different subatomic particles as well. So I would agree with you, that is possible.
And one of your big messages is that the cell phone technology and the Wi-Fi, the wireless computer which we have, is very practical, and there are a lot of danger connected to this, and people don't know it.
There is a lot of danger. I mean, you know, as a scientist, microwaves react with water, and we are made of water. Our brains are made of water. So any microwaves going in the body must react with the water. And when you react with the water will change, the water goes around the cells, the water-based layers. You change the surface of the cell. And when you change the surface of the cell, you change the signal transduction and the cell cycle timing. And it goes on to the DNA, and you can change everything by microwaves.
Yes. And therefore people get cancer and other problems when they live close to this broadcasting devices on the roofs, on the houses, and so on. And in your speech yesterday, you came with compelling evidence that it is connected to that.
There are 14 epidemiological studies, one even carried out by the industry itself, and they said this causes cancer. There are 5 High Court cases that prove this. So
only in
no, 3 in Austria, 1 in Italy, and where was the other one? I can't think of the country or the other one, but there are 5 to my knowledge, and 19 other legal judgments where proof wasn't required. Scientifically, a magistrate or a judge who's not a High Court judge or a mayor listened to the evidence and said, turn it off, take it down.
Yes. And then it was better.
Then it was better.
Yeah. And you told us yesterday about the farmer in Africa.
Oh yes, yeah. Is this the one to do with the ants, or the one to do with the American military base? There were 2. But the one with the ants. He came to me and said, would you come to the field with me, Barry? And I said, of course I will. Lovely gentleman. And I went to the field, and he said to me, what do you hear? And then I said, well, there's a sort of an animal baboon in the trees over there, and there's something moving over there that I hoped wasn't a lion. And he said, you shouldn't be able to hear me speak. He said, normally all of these bushes would be covered with bees pollinating. And he said, as soon as that transmitter went up, I lost my bees. He said, within a few months, my ants were lost. They disappeared. And we know that microwaves affect bees enormously. I've given a whole lecture on just bees. We know that the navigational system of ants is based on the Earth's magnetic field, the same used by bats, birds, fish, other creepy crawlies, and the microwaves are too powerful for the navigation system to work. It's the cryptochrome mechanism in the brain. It's too powerful. And so as soon as you put an animal in a magnetic field, they get lost. And they can't come back, or they will leave to find an area where they feel comfortable again. And this gentleman, and this is right across this country, he lost all of his fruit, which means he's now got to buy fruit, or which means the country has to start importing fruit. And he's lost his trees because the ants, whilst they crawled all over the plants, they licked the sap. They didn't eat the plants. And any locusts or insects that landed on the plants, the ants attacked them to protect their plants. So he's totally lost his farm, and that isn't one farm. All of the farms are suffering, which means the country now has to start importing food because it's not growing it, and it has to start importing drugs because people become sick, and it has to start importing medicines because in this country they were all vitamin C producing plants, and once you lack vitamin C you're looking at scurvy. So now you've got to try and prevent scurvy. And the countries that are causing the problem, in this case the United States, they are the very first people to come in and offer aid.
Yes. Problem, reaction, solution.
Yep. And then in return for the aid, military base, land, mines, yep.
Yes, that's what they want. Yeah, that is really horrible. And was also extremely disgusting for me to hear yesterday that especially women are targeted, and that they suffer more because the follicles are deformed.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they do know this because experiments were carried out, and I've read the papers, experiments were carried out in the Cold War on pregnant women with different levels of microwave irradiation to see how many genetically deformed children could be born, how many miscarriages. I know with the miscarriages it was 57.7% of women had miscarriages from low-level radiation. And so when they start putting Wi-Fi in schools, and you've got little girls in schools with all of the eggs in their ovaries that are going to be their future generation, you know, I contacted the authorities and said, you know, you can't do this because you're going to produce genetically deformed children and miscarriages. They totally ignored me, and they're still putting Wi-Fi in schools. And the evidence is there that the girls, when they get married and they have children, there is a very high risk of a genetically born girl. But the DNA in the eggs, in the follicles, they suffer 10 times more than all of the rest of the DNA in the body. So even if they use a safety level, it's a factor of 10 out anyway. And it's irreparable. It can never be repaired, that particular mitochondrial DNA. Which means that if you have a girl with the DNA damage, her child will get the damage, and then her child, right the way down the female line until there are no more females left in that line. And this is what they're doing. And they know with Wi-Fi in schools, because a girl can be irradiating her ovaries from the age of 5, if she goes to university, to 24, 19 years. She's sitting in front of Wi-Fi and it's transmitting straight through the ovaries if you look at how they sit.
And how was with boys, the sperms also can...
Well, boys are slightly different because girls are born with all of their eggs and they can be irradiated from birth. Boys will not produce sperms until puberty. But in saying that, there are several papers that now show that with Wi-Fi the sperms are also damaged. Yes. So you have the sperms and eggs, and of course if you've got a damaged sperm and a damaged egg, it's horrific. Yes. The thing is, they know this, and the only reason they're putting Wi-Fi in schools is because if you're going to put it into, let's say in Denmark, 10,000 schools, I don't know, it's cheaper to use Wi-Fi than get workmen to drill holes to put the fibre optic cable or the phone cable through. You save maybe £1 million. And that's why they're doing it. And it's cheaper now to save £1 million and have genetically damaged children in 35 years' time.
I also heard already more than 10 years ago that don't give a cell phone to your children.
That's true, yep.
Because why is it especially dangerous?
Well, children are growing. The nervous system is growing. The bones are growing. The immune system is growing. The brain is growing. Everything in a child is growing. And if you put microwaves through growing parts of the body, you can affect the growth. You can deform the bones. You can alter the chemistry of the bone marrow that makes the immune system. You can affect the way the brain works. And these are growing. So if you change it, it's going to be changed for life, unless it can repair itself. So what you're doing is you're effectively changing the growth of the child. And a child isn't fully grown until they're 28. 28. The last thing to form is the clavicle, the shoulder blade. So really, if you want to be strict here, a child should not be exposed to microwaves until they are 28.
And I had some thoughts about what can we do about it? How can we improve it? And I had an interview with Professor Konstantin Meil in Germany, who was a physics professor and the leading researcher in scalar waves, because he made the experiment from Nikola Tesla, the Wardenclyffe Tower experiment, in a very tiny scale, and sells this so that everybody can follow that there are a special kind of longitudinal wave which we call also Tesla wave. And he said to us, if the cell phone industry would use only scalar waves to communicate with people in a cell phone, then you have a kind of peer-to-peer connection directly from the ringer to the receiver. And because it is a longitudinal wave, it is not going around anywhere, making no electro smog, and making it more healthy. And nobody can eavesdrop on it, because this is not a transversal wave going everywhere, but only between those two persons. So the Secret Services can't listen to us any longer. And he says, in this scalar wave, you can transmit enough energy to the cell phone that you don't need a battery. Because scalar waves have a lot of over-unity effects because they collect the neutrinos on their way. This what Tesla showed already in the 1890s when he had light bulbs 42 kilometer glowing without a cable between the generator. So for me it sounds perfect, and I know from some Germans who made their own cell phones on scalar waves between Berlin and St. Petersburg. It was worked perfectly, and then the guy went from St. Petersburg to Australia, so it was through the Earth, and it was perfect connection, no battery needed. So it is more cheap, it is more health, and they were so surprised, some of the frequencies already were occupied. So somebody here on Earth is using that technology already.
I mean, if that works, it'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
If that works, it will be brilliant when it comes in. But as you said yesterday, it may be 20, 30 years before the whole system is up and running.
Yes.
And the mobile industry, they're still putting up their transmitters, so they're not going to take them all down at the moment.
Yes.
But I mean, you're right, if it does work, it's brilliant. But if you say the Secret Service can't listen in, I can't see him getting a license to do it, because the beauty for the Secret Service is that they can watch, listen, and check every single person in the country. They can even watch you when you're in bed through the wall and see how many people are in bed with you. If you put your cell phone down and you're talking to the doctor or a lawyer or somebody, they can listen to what you're saying. They can, if they want to, they can listen to every single thing you say and watch everywhere you go 24 hours a day, and there's nothing you can do. They can even watch you go to the toilet. There's nothing you can do to stop them.
Yeah. And I heard that in every cell phone signal there is a kind of noise also.
Yep.
And that they can modulate the noise and put in information to influence your mind, or also get back information.
Oh, that's done. Yeah, they're using that in shops. And a shop was taken to court, and it was in the United States. With this system and using auditory hallucination or synthetic hallucination, a shop was targeting people coming into the shop. And the inventor was told that it would only be used to stop people shoplifting. That when they came in, if they wanted to stop them shoplifting, they would send a message saying, "We're watching you, don't steal that." But as soon as the inventor finished, the shops and maybe the governments, but somebody said, "Well, hang on, if we change the message, instead of saying don't steal that, buy it, we will make a profit." And a shop made, I think it was $600,000 using this in 9 months, and they were taken to court. But the government argued, from the transcript I had, the government argued that the system was harmless and no laws were being broken. It is not against the law to send somebody a message.
And it was not a subliminal message, it was
auditory, synthetic telepathy. They're arguing that it's like music. The message goes into the brain and you hear music. And the lawyers couldn't find a charge because it wasn't against the law. And the government scientists said, well, as far as we're concerned, all of this is safe. Because they use it, they have to say it's safe. And since then, it has spread to other big chain stores. And we don't know now how many chain stores are using this. But now there are big chain stores and fast food outlets that are targeting certain people to encourage them to spend more money. And that's amazing. And you think, well, we're back to where we started. I mean, what else can you ask them to do? Just supposing, the owner of a shop gets one of these devices and takes it home. And however the message is sent, maybe from a tape or it'll be electronic voice these days, supposing the owner sends the message through the wall to his next door neighbour, saying, I admire you, come and sleep with me, or move because you're not wanted here, or you can send it across the street. I mean, somebody's only got to buy one of these and start using it for their own devices, and then we're back to where we started, where you've got people hearing voices and they're getting confused.
When they modulate this information on the carrier wave, do you know whether they modulate the amplitude or the frequency?
They can do either. They can do either. If you modulate the amplitudes, you will get more energy. If you modulate the frequency, you will get more vibration. You can do either. It depends on the energy. You'll probably end up doing both. But you would, with the noise, you can also put in anything from the 1 to the 600 pulse frequencies as well. So you could make somebody feel incredibly happy and indecisive or decisive, so they will buy something or do something. You can also put in the pulse frequencies.
And shortly before the Olympics in London now, you gave a fantastic interview to Lars Drygård from Denmark.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And you touched the Olympic Games and said it would be perfectly easy to support a sportsman.
It's so easy, I could do it.
Yeah.
It is because of the known frequencies. If you target somebody, and this comes from, I will say, an intelligence case. There was a researcher who was murdered. I will say murdered, but it wasn't proven. But everyone knows he was murdered. He discovered something, and for what he discovered, he was murdered. And somebody from this country contacted me to say, do you know what he was working on? Do you know the pulse frequencies? Do you know everything? And I said, well, yes, as it happens, I do, because I've been reading about that recently. And they said, would you make a statement? Because he's dead, he can't appear in court. Would you make a statement for the court? And I said, yeah. So I wrote an enormous statement with the evidence, sent it to the country. And it was to do with targeting ministers of the government with pulse frequencies. Because if you have a minister that is going to make a crucial decision and you can target them, you can probably make them change their mind. It's very easy. And at this time, the Olympics were on, and somebody said, could Olympic athletes be targeted? And I said, easily. From any transmitter, straight through the wall to their bed when they're sleeping. And all you have to do is target them with a specific pulse frequency that will make them lethargic, disinterested, It's easily done, very easily done. Maybe feeling a little bit fluey. And all you have to do is take away the ability to slow them down by maybe a second. That's all you need. Slow them down by a second or two.
Yes.
You can even do it whilst they're running. You can do it from a block of flats. Whilst they're running, you can just target the brain. Or the muscles, depending on the frequency, or the heart. You can actually make the heart not beat properly. And the gentleman you said, when he was at my house, he said, "Is it possible?" And I said, "It is easy. Absolutely, all you need is a transmitter that will transmit into a beam, so you only get the one person, not the rest. You want a microwave beam. You can put it on a carrier wave, which will help the beam. You can use a high-powered lens like they use in sniper rifles for the beam, and all you have to do is target. All you need is not even a clear view of the athlete, because it will go through walls, and you can target somebody and you can slow them down. And any country with the technology, not only can you slow people down, but you can speed them up. And speeding them up is easier. If you target the adrenal glands, you will get adrenaline, natural adrenaline produced in the body. That has the effect of speeding up the heart, speeding up the reactions, because if somebody came through this door now to shoot you, your adrenaline would come out straight away, you'd be in your fight and flight mode, everything will be ready. You can induce that in people. So you can actually produce adrenaline, and it would not come out in a drugs test, because adrenaline is a natural body substance, so it wouldn't come out. And of course, if you're a little bit scared, as people are, athletes, before the starting gun, adrenaline's flowing anyway, you're just increasing it. So you could slow one person down, who may be your biggest rival, and you can speed somebody else up. And it is easily done. Whether they're doing it, I don't know. You would need a detector somewhere near the ground to detect it. It could be detected. You could get them when they're asleep. But yes, it is possible. It is possible to manipulate the Olympics easily. It's so easy, and I'm certainly not a clever person compared to some of the other people. It is so easy, I could do it.
Because I was amazed that Britain were on the third level with the medals this year.
I wondered that. I thought, how come we've done so well?
It's very unusual.
Yeah.
To the statistics.
And I was looking and I thought, well, we've beaten Australia, and we never beat Australia.
And Germany.
And we've beaten Germany, and we've beaten Russia. And I thought, we have never been this good. And I mean, in my own childish mind, I thought, I wonder if anyone's beamed these athletes while they've been working. And of course, you can't prove it. It is the perfect sports drug.
Yes.
The perfect drug.
Yes.
It induces a natural body substance.
Perfect doping.
Adrenaline. Cortisol, adrenaline. The perfect body substances, it won't come out in a drugs test, and you can give somebody a good second or two, and that's all you need.
And I first thought it could be the advantage that they are at home. But then I looked at the statistics. In the last London Olympics, they were also at home, but they were very lousy in the results. So it couldn't be that effect.
Yeah, I remember that, the White City in the 40s, 50s, I remember that. And you're right. And I did have a childish thought when I saw us on the score table, and thought we've only been beaten by the United States and China,
Yeah.
and there's something wrong there.
Yeah, it is fishy.
So, but maybe, without taking it away, maybe the athletes are that good. Maybe they were beamed, I don't know.
No, we can't. No. Would you like finally to address something to the audience?
I think what we need is we need to find honest people with enormous power. The only way, I think there is only one way out of this. I think if I can get a message to people that the world will sit up and listen to, if I can talk to kings or queens, which I have done, if I can talk to kings or queens, and if we can have a king or a queen who is prepared to stand up for the children of their country, prepared to stand up for the victims of illegal experimentation, which are their people. They are their people. If they are prepared to defend their people, and they are prepared to make a nuisance and demand government action, because the kings and queens, although they have in some countries, no power to control government, they can make a nuisance of the government. They can call press conferences, and they can say, I do not have the power to stop you as a government, but I am your king, I am your queen. And I want you, as members of the press, to investigate and stop ordinary children, human beings, being targeted by illegal government scientists and killed by the scientists. I want my judges to investigate and bring these people to trial. I want Wi-Fi taken out of schools because I do not want my people to suffer any more genetic damage than nature would ordinarily cause. Yes. So a king or queen who was brave could do that, could call a press conference and could say to the press, make these people stop. I want you to hound these scientists, follow them home, get some papers, find a whistleblower, print what they're doing. Let's get everybody on one side and get these murderous killers stopped. Yeah. And a king and a queen can do that. Yes. And if I can see a king or a queen and I can give them the proof and give them the evidence, and they care about not only their future, but the future of the people they are the king and queen of. They are like the mother and the father of a family. Mm-hmm. We are their family. Mm-hmm. And if they can say, I will not have my people tortured by government scientists just for research, and I will not have genetically born damaged children because somebody is too lazy or too greedy not to drill a hole through a wall. And I am going to encourage investigative reporters to get to the bottom of you. As difficult as it is for them, they have my permission to do anything they want. We will have this exposed. And only a king and a queen can do that. Mm. We've got to go to the top, and if you can send this to the king and the queen, or the queen here, I will be very, very grateful. Or any king and queen. They have got to come in to protect their people and their country. And we've reached the stage where a gentleman, and I agreed with him sitting there, it may have been you, lying in government is now endemic. all senior government officials lie all of the time. Lying is so commonplace, it is now normal. It is normal to lie. They wouldn't know the truth if it jumped up and bit them on the backside. Everybody lies all of the time. It is endemic right through government. I said yesterday when I was talking, when I started questioning spies and people, the biggest task I was given was to investigate corruption in the senior London police and the senior London government, with their access to the expensive Mayfair clubs like the Playboy, where they would meet international criminals and gangsters and other people. And 45 years later, look into our papers now. The two organisations being questioned and targeted by the press for corruption are the police and the government. We have been corrupt for 45 years. It is endemic. Governments do no longer govern. They do not represent the people. They represent industry. And they will kill people to please industry. They will murder people. Children, embryos, fetuses, infants. They will murder anyone to please industry. And we need now, and there is only one way to stop this, we need a king or a queen to talk to me. I can put them in touch with other kings and queens who will verify what I say in their country.
Yeah.
And hopefully we need a king or a queen that will call the press, the best of the investigative reporters, and say, publish this, hound these people, get to the truth, and I want everything in the papers until you stop the murders, you stop the genetically damaged children. That is the only way, and if they don't do it, we are going to lose our countries, and we are going to lose our people, we are going to lose the human race because of the acid rain, the carbon dioxide, the trees, everything which the microwaves are destroying. We're going to lose everything. And my message is, and I'm sorry it's so long, my message is to the king and the queens, you have the status, let me see you use it for the benefit of the people. You have the luxury. You have everything you want. You have everybody bowing and kneeling to you. Turn the tables for once, just once. Do something for us. You can save your people. And that is what I want from the kings and queens.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful.
My pleasure. And if you can show that to your queen, I'll be grateful.
Yeah, but in Sweden we will show it to the king.
Yeah, to the king.
Yes, yes. And we have a very good king in Sweden.
And if like our royal family, there are armies of people to stop people like me getting access, if you know an investigative reporter who is fearless and can tell the truth and can publish it, get it published word for word.
I will do my best. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.